Hey everybody, it's Kat, and I want to welcome you to this episode of Backstory Sessions. I'm joined today by my co-host Willie. Hey Willie.
Hey, Kat.
Well, Willie, today we have someone whose story is just really as big as his stage presence. Do you know that he is 6'6"?
Oh, wow.
I know.
That's pretty tall.
I would venture to say the tallest that we have ever had. But it's amazing. He's played more than 3,000 shows already in his career,
Oh,
and
boy.
he came from a gospel upbringing and lost everything in Hurricane Katrina.
Oh, goodness.
I know. So he's really, if you look at like these elements, lived the kind of life that would make you think, that's the stuff of songwriters and performers. So we're gonna find out, like, how did these personal events affect him and his career? Did it inspire him? Uh, did it knock him down and he not think about getting back up? Those kinds of things. And he's got a really high energy. Some of the songs are more personal, but he also has really high energy songs. And we're going to talk about Slam Bam, which is the latest that he has out today. So, Chaz Collins, I want to welcome you to Backstory Sessions. We are so excited to have you today.
Thank you so much. And actually, I guess Google hasn't updated yet. We've played over 3,500 shows now, so
My goodness.
Well,
I
we
mean,
just
even
keep
more
going.
impressive.
it just keeps going bigger and bigger. So what does it feel like when you hear that number? I mean, that's a lot.
It sounds unrealistic, and it makes me wonder how I still have vocal cords. Uh, how do I still have a voice here?
Uh,
It's unbelievable to think about.
how does that work? Like, how do you keep your vocal cords like safe?
Uh, well, the main thing is, you shouldn't drink anything cold before you sing. That's actually really bad for your voice. Um, you're not supposed to do a lot of screaming and yelling. So baseball games and football games, I don't. I'm probably the most quiet fan, just kind of hanging out. Uh, uh, that's one thing, and then secondly, believe it or not, hot tea, coffee, things like that. Um, I regularly do that. There are times I push it a little too far, and I'll be at a show and talking to fans, and the music's real loud, and I'm talking over the music, and I'm hoarse by the next day, and I'm like, I gotta reel that in. It's like finding that fine line of I'm I'm a personable kind of guy, and you want to spend time with the fans, but you kind of got to go, hey, I gotta, sorry, I got to keep it short, can't talk over the music, kind of thing. So you just try to be very, very mindful of that. And on days that you have shows, it's probably not a good day for you to get together with groups of people and friends all day and have cookouts. And it's not a good idea because you're all that talking, believe it or not, you got to let it rest. So that's kind of my secrets, like what helps me.
Well, those are some good tips for people out there that need to, preserve their voice. So you grew up in Louisiana?
I did a little town called Belle Chase. Uh, a lot of people don't know there's a whole lot south of New Orleans that's not underwater, but there is. There's quite a thriving area. Belle Chase has like really grown since I've been there, but I'm not sure the population there. But I can tell you, I got my start in a little bar called the Blue Angel with a capacity of 99 people uh,
Hmm.
in a little town of Belle Chase. Uh, but yeah, born and raised there, and decided to move to Nashville like the night before Katrina hit. That was when it all started, I guess, in
Wow.
2005.
So, what did it feel like to sell out the 99 people, I mean, that's a
Uh,
big deal, when that's your beginning, I think.
oh, absolutely. And well, see, the crazy thing is I started in that bar singing karaoke. When karaoke first came out and it was huge, um, I was just going around singing karaoke places, but that particular place, my good buddy John Jewell, who has Rising Star Entertainment, he has his own karaoke business. But he asked me, he says, man, he says, you're really good on the mic. He says, I want you to MC my show for me. And so I started doing that, and not just at that bar, but other bars. And I was building a fan base without even realizing it, of people that didn't sing karaoke, but they would just come to watch me perform, because I would perform. I mean, I'd put on a show like there was a band behind me. And, looking back at it now, it seems a little cheesy, but it worked. It helped me build a fan base. That's when I really knew I had something special. I had a God-given talent that I hadn't tapped into yet.
So, was this always a dream that you had? Because, a lot of people would think you'd be an athlete, but just by, your height, that you'd be basketball player or something. Has it always been music?
Well, so I started singing when I was 9 years old. We called them specials. You'd sing specials in church, and I had some major stage fright when I started. So I would say it wasn't until karaoke came out and was the new big thing. Excuse me. And I want to say that was probably right around when I was maybe 18 or 19, that it really started becoming a passion of mine, to perform. Like I loved the energy that you got from people. I wouldn't say so much it wasn't an attention thing for me. It was literally that I was connecting with people. I've always been a talker, and you can put me in a room and I can make friends without even knowing any of these people. But now I have another way to connect to people with the music and entertaining people, and making them feel good, making them feel things, make them feel the song. And when I realized that that's what I could do, like I said, I was about 18 or 19, and that's when it got in my blood. And I was like, I got to do this. This is great. It is that connection, that human connection.
So, when you decided this, what was your plan, or did you have one of how you were going to make it happen?
So it was actually kind of on a whim. So I had always wanted to go to Nashville and make a CD. And so, like I said, I did that, and it was just cover songs. I mean, I used a little karaoke CD of Tim McGraw songs and Rascal Flatts songs, and went there and recorded. Literally, I didn't have any musicians at the time. I just recorded it with karaoke tracks and then my vocals over the top, and mixed it and made a CD. And when I came back to New Orleans, I was like, man, I really want to move to Nashville, but I didn't have the money to do that. I was, like I said, I was in trade school as a commercial residential plumber, working on high rises, building new construction hotels and stuff. And when Katrina hit, I lost everything in Katrina. So I was like, let me back up a minute. It was the night before. And when they came across the news and said, listen, you're not going to make it. If you're in these areas, there's a good chance you're not going to live through this. You need to leave. And so I just called my family, and I said, I'm going to run away from the storm over to Pensacola. And once it comes through, I'm coming back home, getting my stuff, and I'm moving to Nashville. Well, when I was in Pensacola and I found out that, everything was completely just leveled, I was just like, well, I guess I'm just going to do it now. And so I had no plan. I had about $500 in the bank, and a couple of change of clothes with me, because I was planning on coming back to my place. I was just leaving for a day or two to skip the to get out of the path. And so that little $500 and a couple of change of clothes, and I was in Pensacola, and I just deadheaded to Nashville. I didn't know anybody. I was just like, here we go. Let's see what happens. It was no plan. It was on a whim. The timing just made it happen, and I figured it out when I got there.
In some ways, do you feel like maybe it was a good thing to make you go ahead and take the jump? Like it's sink or swim at that point, I guess.
Yeah, yes, because it's very ironic that I was very much a person that would get homesick to leave home. Like even when I was a kid, you'd go to church camp or things like that. Like literally, I was within days. I'm homesick. Like I'm not happy. I want to be home. I didn't want to be away from my family, my parents. And it's pretty ironic that I've become a touring musician that now it's like I love to be on the road. I love the I don't want to say instability because that's not really the word, but I love the unknown. I love the blowing with the wind. I got a home base there in Clearwater, Florida now. But I love just being out there and not knowing, I know I got a show the next day, but I don't know what folks I'm going to meet. I don't know, in the middle of a tour, there could be dates added. I could be going from North Dakota to Minnesota over to California. Like I love that unknown. It keeps it exciting for me.
And
I don't like to stay put for too long.
that's something that you probably are surprised about yourself.
Yeah. Being the guy that always wanted to be home. That's why I didn't even, when I was younger, that's why military wasn't even an option for me, because I was like, I don't want to leave home that long. I thought about it. I'm like, I'd love to serve my country, but at the same time, I don't want to be away from home, And boy, I kind of went the other way on that one, didn't I?
It sounds like you did. What did your family think of your plan? I mean, I'm sure they were glad that you were getting away from the storm, but what did they think after that when you told them
Well,
I'm going?
so when I was in high school, I lived with my grandparents and my mother. My mother was real sick most of my teenage life, a lot of health problems. So she was unable to basically raise me. My grandparents did. And so my grandparents divorced literally like a week before I graduated. 53 years together, and they got a divorce. Craziness.
Wow.
And so my grandfather had some pen strokes. So it was just causing a lot of stress for them. So that when they divorced, I was like, that's kind of when I started doing the plumbing thing. And then when I went to Nashville, my point being was my grandparents is what held the family together. Well, when they divorced, I was what held the family together. So when I told everybody when Katrina hit and I was like, hey, I'm moving to Nashville, literally my whole family was like, oh, wait, we got to be where he's at. So my grandmother, my mother, my aunt, even my best friend, and my almost all my family, with the exception of my sister who still lives in New Orleans, my whole family just uprooted within months and moved to Nashville with me.
Aw.
Like literally, they were like, no, we can't have. I was the glue of the family. They're like, we can't have him up there and us down here. So they all came up.
Well, is everyone still in Nashville?
Uh, my brother's still there. Since then, my aunt actually came up there too. But since then, my mother, my aunt, my grandmother have passed away. My grandfather as well. And that was a tough one for me because I was raised with my grandparents. But as we're talking about my grandmother, my mother, and my aunt, I was like losing three moms. And unfortunately, it all happened within a 4-year period. So it was like a lot of back to back of losing those people. but my brother still lives there. He met his now wife at a Trace Adkins concert, believe it or not. Uh, but my brother still lives there. My best friend went back. One of my best friends that moved up there with me, he's moved back to New Orleans, and started a family and all of that. So the only one still left in Tennessee is my brother, and he's out there. I can't even remember the name of the town. He's way out there in the boonies.
So, what did you think of Nashville once you got there and started to settle in?
Well, it wasn't what I pictured. I pictured it has all these bars on Broadway and everything. And, these were honky tonks. Now it's very commercial. But when I first moved there, I called it a big little town. It had a lot of personality, but I expected to see, country stars everywhere, playing in all the bars and doing shows. And you do get a little bit of that, but it was very much a grind on Broadway. So I never got, we kind of call it a trap, to be honest. It's a trap for musicians a lot of times. It's a great thing to get your feet wet. It's a great thing to do a little networking, but you get a lot of musicians get stuck on Broadway and they're not making any money. So I never did that. It's funny that I moved to Nashville to try to make it. And whereas it was a positive thing for me because from a standpoint of musicians, there is a melting pot of musicians from all over the world that come there. So you get a lot of like top tier musicians to choose from for touring and putting a band together. So that made that easy for me as far as putting the band together. But to keep them together was a whole different ballgame. I'd come back from a tour and have to replace a band member because they didn't want to be out on the road that long, or they met a girl and now they don't want to leave home. So that was kind of tough. As far as that, but it's funny. I moved to Nashville to make it, but I was rarely there. I was on the road anywhere from 8 to 9 months out of the year. About 2 years after I moved there in 2005, and so 2007 in August is when I started touring full time. So I wasn't home much to see what all the changes were. I'd come back and go, man, the city's completely changed, because it just kept becoming this big metropolis, almost like a New York. It's just growing so
Yeah.
much.
All right, Willie, what do you think of this?
It's very interesting. I have a question.
Yeah.
How was the loss of, so many family members within a short amount of time? How has it shaped you, motivated you to carry on? And do you have part of their legacy in your songs?
Gotcha. I would say somewhat of that. A lot of my music. Slam Bam, of course, is a big party song, and we were kind of following the trend of what's happening now, what people are releasing now, which is a good beat, a good story, but it didn't go like really deep. Whereas a lot of my other songs, especially the ballads and things like that, it's all about living in the moment. And tomorrow's not promised. Let's lift each other up, and community and family. There's some of that, some of those songs. In fact, some of the new releases that's going to be coming out this year. It encompasses that. But to answer your question from a motivation standpoint, my family was always morally supportive, but I don't want to say they were poor, but they didn't have money to just give me to go, live my dream. When I was a teenager and graduating high school and all that. However, it was very, very tough with those losses. But what I always remembered was that they believed in me. And I was like, if I, each of the times that I lost somebody, it took the wind out of my sails for a little bit, but I kept pushing on because I'm like, you know what? I'd be disappointing myself if I take a break. I'd be disappointing them. So that was my motivation for that. And making this a short story, because it'd be quite a long story if we really went into it. But the loss of my grandfather, there was the four big pinnacles of my career happened within weeks of losing four of the closest people in my life. My grandfather passed away, and 2 weeks later, I got my first booking agent, started touring. My mother passed away. An investor came in and helped me record my first 3 songs and my first music video. My grandmother passed away literally as we were in the hospital making my grandmother comfortable, and basically a hospice kind of situation. I literally got a phone call as we're in the room saying, "Hey, you got a number 9 on CMT right now." It just happened. Wow. And then my aunt, when she passed away in 2016, another investor stepped forward and changed my career, helped us get out of a van and into a bus with a trailer, and also funded the rest of that CD, 4 more tracks. So literally, no one can explain that, but I truly believe that from a spiritual standpoint, that everyone always wants to know exactly what happens after you're gone, after you die, and I have 4 family members that I don't think you can have 4 what's the word I'm looking for? Coincidences. Thank you. You can't have 4 coincidences that exactly like this happen. And somehow I feel like from a spiritual standpoint, they were there for me because they never could help me financially. And I know it sounds really far-fetched, but it's how do you disprove 4 huge accomplishments, huge pinnacles of my career that happened within weeks of the death of 4 of the most special people in my life? It's pretty crazy.
I don't think it's far-fetched.
Yeah. I mean, it's unexplainable. I need to write a book, and I'm thinking about doing that because there's just so much like this that happened. There's so many more stories on the road and things that I feel like that family, people that you're connected with, their energy is still there. There's something even more grand, as that happens after you die. This is unbelievable. I mean, I don't know how to explain it, but it's just been mind blowing. That their words motivated me, but they somehow, unexplainable, somehow, I believe they helped me. They helped me to do what I always wanted to do, and it's not about ego. It's not about attention. It's not about people lifting me up. It's about me lifting people up. Garth Brooks said it a long time ago, and I'm a very big fan of this. He says, a true entertainer walks out on the stage and doesn't say, "Here I am." He says, "There you are." And I've lived by that my entire career.
Wow, that's very beautiful.
Yes.
Very, very beautiful story.
Thank you.
So the songwriting, when did you start writing?
So I actually started writing a lot when I was on the road. I'd say around 2012, 2013, because I ended up coming out with my first CD in 2014, which was honestly not any songs that I had written myself. As a lot of artists do, they get songs from songwriters. And it was weird because a lot of the music I was writing wasn't for me. it was stuff that I'm like, oh man, that was a great song, but that's something like Alan Jackson would cut. Some, I need to try to kind of pitch that to Alan Jackson. So it was really weird that I was writing music that it was me, but it wasn't. It was me as a person, but it wasn't me as an artist, because I'm more on the country rock side. I'm not a traditional country artist, but everything that I was writing was coming out traditional. And so I kind of just, I never recorded any of that. It's still sitting there to this day in my notebook. And but when I really started getting into writing, was about 2016, 2017, when I started getting around some of these songwriters. And it was when I would get with another writer, then it was like that magic would happen. Then me, Chaz Collins, the artist, came out, and I started writing music that I'm like, okay, this is my speed. This is stuff I would cut, because a lot of people don't know that. You got a lot of artists out there, that have written. Look at Willie Nelson. He wrote "Crazy." That's not a song that you would hear Willie Nelson sing. I mean, he did it. He did his own version, but who was it? Patsy Cline that did "Crazy."
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. But think about it. Willie Nelson's crazy, crazy. I mean, it doesn't sound like something Willie's going to sing. So that same thing was happening to me. I was writing stuff that other people would cut or should cut. But yeah. And then the biggest co-write was, I've got two songs that are out now. One called Something About the Rain and one called No Place I'd Rather Be. And I got a chance to write that with Byron Hill. Byron Hill was inducted into the Country Music Songwriters Hall of Fame, Nashville Hall of Fame, in 2018. Just a year, 2 or 3 years after I wrote with him. And I'm like, wow, like I wrote with that guy. So that's when it really, really took off. And I've been writing a lot since. So everything I cut now is either a co-write or I've written it myself.
Do you like co-writing?
I do. It's like we're doing right now. We're just kind of hanging out, and that's what I do. With any of my songwriting buddies, and it's kind of wild, because sometimes you go in there with an idea, and sometimes you have no idea a title. You don't have a hook, as they say. That one line in a song that you can't get out your head. Sometimes you're just like, hey, let's hang out. I'm gonna bring my guitar, and you got no plan. You've got no plan. You go in there, and you just, sometimes magic happens, and you're just, oh, that's a cool melody. Let's sing a few lyrics and make something up, and then you take that. Okay, that's a song. Let's start. It starts like that sometimes. Sometimes you watch a movie, and you write a line down and go, that's a heck of a hook right there. It's crazy how this songwriting thing happens. I understand it now. I didn't used to understand it. How people think of all this stuff, man.
So somebody we had on before said that co-writing was kind of like a first date, and you could sort of tell if it was gonna, if you were gonna be compatible or not. Do you find that's true?
It is, and it's never something that you can you can't you won't usually don't know it ahead of time. I mean, now, yes, if you've written with someone before, if you have chemistry with them or not. But I have literally gotten to a room with a songwriter, sat down, and I know that they've written some really good songs, and we're friends, and we're trying to write, and there's nothing. There's no chemistry there. We're just not clicking, as they say. And then I've had someone come up to me at a show and go, hey man, we should write something together. And you usually kind of take that as bar talk, like, yeah, you're saying that, but are you really serious about it? And I've done that, where I got with this person that wasn't even really a songwriter. And for some reason, when we got in a room with the guitar, it just clicked. And I mean, hour and a half, we have a song ready to go.
Wow.
And and it's cut. I mean, but She Gave Me That Look. That was our first release on Virgin Music in March last year. I wrote that with my guitar player at the time and my drummer. And I'd never written with my drummer. We've discussed getting together and writing. But we got in there and he's like, I got this little melody in my head, and he just sings it. So he's a drummer. He doesn't play guitar or anything. He just kind of hums this little rhythm, this little melody. And my guitar player was like, oh, okay. And he started playing on guitar and just starts making stuff up. And an hour and a half later, She Gave Me That Look. There was zero talk of anything before we went into the room. It just, boom, it just happened. Magic happened.
Amazing.
It's crazy how this works.
Well, let's talk about Slam Bam.
Yes.
Where did that hook come from? Like, did you have that? So does the title come first for you, or the lyrics, or a tune? How does it work?
Well, that's the thing, is it is a living, breathing thing. And I say that because sometimes you have a title first. Sometimes you have a melody and no lyrics or no title. Sometimes you just have one line. Give you an example. I forget what movie was it, Jerry Maguire or whatever. I believe it was that one with Tom Cruise where he said, you had me from hello.
Yeah.
And Kenny Chesney wrote that song, You Had Me From Hello, and he was watching a movie and he heard that line. He goes, and he writes it down and writes a song. Like, those kind of things happen. So it's really, really unpredictable of when it's going to hit you. I haven't written a song about this yet. I've kind of started on it, but someone just one time said, I'll never forget her. And I'm like, well, what was her name? And, it was a girl that he dated. He's like, I don't remember.
I forgot her.
Yeah. So I was like, well, there's a song right there. I'll never forget. Oh, what's her name? I mean, this is something, you'd expect maybe like a Ray Stevens or somebody to cut, but that's a song. I mean, that's a great hook. That's really funny. It could be Cletus T. Judd. Weird Al Yankovic might decide to do a country album, but Ray Stevens, it's a very comical song or a comical line. So that kind of stuff just happens. Now with Slam Bam, excuse me, Slam Bam was the original lyrics was already written by a buddy of mine, Douglas Gary. He was a guitar player that toured with me quite a bit up until COVID, because he went back to Indiana and he's working on another project yet. But I had 6 songs ready to record last year, and Slam Bam was not in that 6 at that time. And he had called me and he goes, man, I got this song. He says, you really, really need to hear it. I think you'd be perfect for it. And so to give you a little bit of backstory, it was on hold with the Van Zant brothers. And everybody knows the Van Zants,
Sure.
38 Special, Leonard Skinner, Ronnie Van Zant. So the Van Zant duo was a country group. They had a song out called Help Somebody If You Can. I don't know if you remember that song. But they had it on hold, and their manager and all was like, hey, we're going to cut this song and call the album Slam Bam, and all these plans. And so when all that ended up, it just changed direction. The manager decided to do something completely different. They scrapped the entire plan that they had. And that's when my buddy said, hey, I got this song. And, they had it on hold. Obviously there's something there. So I listened to it and I'm like, okay, I could see cutting this. I was like, I got to change some lyrics a little bit to make it more me. Because I think sometimes you can have a good song, but if people don't believe you and don't feel the message from you, it's just a song. And that's why they have some songs like Friends in Low Places. I think Mark Chestnut cut and it didn't go anywhere, but then Garth Brooks did it. And it's probably his most popular song. Same thing as what I'm thinking with Slam Bam is like, let me change it a little bit. So I kind of did some writing with it, some changes. And I was like, okay, now this is me. This is my personality coming out. Slam bam, here I am. I'm ready to party. And for me, that's, everyone can take that however they want to. Some people might be like, oh, I want to go out and have some drinks, or oh, I want to go out and line dance. Oh, I just want some friends, buddies of mine to hang out with and just cut up, and have a good time and just forget the daily grind, of a job and family and things like that. I just want to be in the moment, and that's what the song is about. And I felt like too, with everything going on in the world, that's what people need to hear right now. They need to let go of everything and stop thinking about everything and just enjoy life in the moment. That's what Slam Bam is about.
Interesting. So, what would be a slam bam night for you?
Oh, for me. So I'm not a huge drinker, but I've got a really good buddy of mine that has been a marketing partner, Zimziki Vodka, and that's one of our biggest sponsors. And so I like to get a little vodka soda sometime and just sip it, and go out to my favorite dance hall. And my wife and I, when she can, we go out dancing, listen to live bands. It is more low key for me now, just because when I was younger, obviously, like most people, they want to go to nightclubs, and I mean, they're really rowdy, just trying to go here, go there with their friends and just live life to the fullest. And you don't think, you go kind of crazy, go a little wild when you're younger. As I'm older, as I've gotten older now, I like to just kind of just hang out with friends and have a few social drinks and watch some live music, watch some bands, and so we'll do a little dancing here and there too. But for the party thing, for me, it's taken on a different role, because it's the meaningful friendships and relationships. It's like, yes, I'm ready to have a good time and party and forget everything, but it's like I want to strengthen those bonds with my friends and family, people that I care about. That is the party atmosphere for me. And, of course, you got to have the neon lights and all that. Let's take it back to the '90s here.
Um, so
uh,
what are your
there is
fans
there
like?
is one more. Well, hang on. I was going to say there is one
Okay.
more. Another way for me to party is to go. I'm a big deep sea fishing guy, so I like to get friends on
Oh,
the boat and go out to the sandbar. That's a big deal for me, being in Florida.
that
But
makes
yes,
sense. Yeah. Well,
yes,
when you're singing this, I imagine with the fans, like there's a really a lot of energy um back and forth.
yes,
Um, so that must be super cool to have a song where you can connect like that too.
yes, and there is nothing like having your fans singing along word for word, especially of a song that you've co-written. Um, that is huge. That means that connection has been made. They've connected to you with the lyrics and your song, which for you, that kind of solidifies that, hey, I wrote a great song. But then when you're playing live and they're singing it to you, you kind of get the best of both worlds. You get that feeling, and in that moment, they're with you in that moment. You've made that connection. You've made them forget about everything else in their life and live in just the moment, and feeling that genuine fan connection. That's part of my addiction with the music business. Is I love putting smiles on people's faces, and that's the performing side that's really addictive to me.
Well, it's really obvious, if it works or doesn't, when you're up there on the stage. Like if no one was singing and, they're all tuned out, you would know, like, that was a fail. So, I'm
Yeah,
how great that you just, you get to see it be a success and feel that every night that you
Yeah.
perform it. All right, Willie, I know we're
Yeah.
running out of time. You get a last question here.
Okay. Well, you said that you started singing in church. Uh, do
Yeah.
you think that you would do full circle and maybe do some gospel?
You know, it's ironic you say that. I have thought about that. Um, I've thought about coming out with a gospel album. It's in the workings of thinking about it. Nothing's put into motion planning wise. I would assume that I would save those kind of moments for when I finally get to play the Grand Ole Opry. As far as releasing an album like that, and the reason for that is gospel songs are very, very big, but there's so many people doing it.
Yeah.
And as I'm trying to get to the Tim McGraw, Kenny Chesney, Garth Brooks, George Strait commercial level, um, we are a national act. However, we're not. We've not been able to get as commercialized as those guys. I feel like in order for an album to work like that or a CD, um, uh, look at me dating us back CDs. But in order to put out a new EP or album of gospel, I feel like you kind of have to have your name at that level commercial to where you're all over the place. Now let's release it to get enough eyes on it. I think if I released it now, we're just not quite not going to. We're just shy of being big enough to make that a commercial success. Right now, I'm still
Okay.
in stages of people. There's still people discovering us. We're not a household name yet, and I feel like even on a smaller scale, if you're a household name, you can come out with something like that that's basically going to be cover songs, and make it successful.
Okay.
So, going forward, when people hear your music, what do you hope that they take away from it?
Well, I hope, and obviously, different ones have different messages, but I hope that they get a glimpse into uh, what's most important, which is friends, family. We're not promised tomorrow, so live in the moment. Live your best life now. Stop planning for when you retire, or stop planning for oh, when I finally get this done, then I can do what I really want. And that's what a lot of our stuff, even our ballads, relationships, it lets people know in real time, you know, what's most important. And that is today. That is right now. That's more important than what your plan is tomorrow, because tomorrow is not promised, and you need to live day by day. I feel like you should live your day, your every day like it's your last, because that's going to make us love deeper when it comes to family, friends, that special someone. It's going to make you have a better quality of life, and you don't ever want to look back and go, well, I wish I would have done this, or I wish I would have planned. I wish I would have just done this instead of planning for it. That encompasses all of our music. It is about a real life situation in the moment. And I did want to give a big shout out, because I didn't throw this out there yet, for all the folks just listening to us, hearing of me for the first time. Connect with us on ChazCollins.com, CHAS Collins.com. Jump on our email list. We'd love to keep you in the loop of any new releases. We got a new music video. It's a really comical video called "This Bar Sucks." That's going to be coming out. That's coming out later. It's a very comical video. And then on all of our socials, Chaz Collins Music, CHAS Collins Music. That's, connect with us and follow, see what's going on. We got a lot of really, really cool stuff happening in 2026.
Awesome. And so social media is very important. Very, it seemed like is the way that people stay connected now to learn everything. So
Yeah, it's
I'm
pretty
glad.
crazy when you think about back in the day, right?
Yeah, when you had a pen pal or, like you had to do things pen and paper. So now
Yeah,
it's like, breaking news, like you can break the news before the news.
yeah,
So it's very interesting. I'm glad that you mentioned the socials. And so this has been a great episode. I feel like we've learned so much about you and what's important to you. And I think your
yeah.
advice about living every day like it's the last, because one day will be, and we don't know what day that's going to be. So,
That's right.
that's food for thought. And I think we all could learn from that. So, thank you for sharing with us today your music and your backstory and your socials so we can all stay updated.
Thank you so
Thank you
much.
so much.
What's that?
I said, thank you so much.
You're very, very welcome. And if there's anyone listening in from all over the world that's out of the U.S. and you haven't seen a show and you want to hear some of our music and you want to share some of our music, we did recently get added on all the AMI jukeboxes worldwide. So there's a lot of touch tunes jukeboxes, and then there's also AMI. That's the two biggest ones, and we're on AMI. So if you're at a local restaurant, bar, anywhere that has a jukebox, look and see if it's AMI. If it's AMI, play some Chaz Collins and share it with your friends. That would be great.
Great. That's great. All right. Well, thank you so much. And we look forward to having you come back again and, let us know of what's happening when you're like over 5,500 performances,
Yeah.
or yeah. So,
Oh yeah, we'll still be doing it. So we'll still be playing a lot of shows. So, like as they say, as the Lord is willing and the creek don't rise. Now I'm going to really age myself. You know that one. You've heard that
we have heard that one.
one.
All right.